BPA is a synthetic estrogen which can disrupt the hormone system, especially when babies are still in the womb or in early life. Pregnant women have been warned to avoid drinking anything from plastic water bottles, eating any foods from the microwave, and also avoiding canned food at all costs. After a study was done by Stanford University, and it showed that it increases the risk of miscarriage by 80%. The same advice has been given to those of partners trying to conceive after research shows that eating or drinking anything from plastic can severely damage male fertility. Stanford states, a chemical that can get into the food through packaging processes comes as a marked and observable threat to the survival of a fetus. It also can lead to breast and prostate cancers later in their life. In test animals, BPA induces abnormal reproductive development, diminished intellectual capacities, diabetes, asthma, early puberty, resistance to chemotherapy, liver tumors, behavioral problems, induced reproductive system cancer, as well as many other chronic ailments. Estrogen plays a key role in everything from heart function to bone growth to ovulation. Too much or too little, especially in utero or in early life, can alter the brain and organ development, leading to cancer later in life. The CDC reports that over 92% of the people that were tested had BPA and other plastics in their body, including newborn babies. The next question is, if it says BPA free, is it safe? Well, me personally, I always thought, yeah, as long as it says BPA free, it's fine. But just recently, after all the studying that I did, I realized, okay, so if it's not got BPA in it, but it's still a plastic bottle, then what's the other chemicals that are inside of it? And that's when I realized that it's not safe for us, even if it says BPA, because there's other chemicals that are actually put in it that are just as harmful, if not even more harmful, and there's been studies showing it. So like I was saying, we see all this BPA-free stuff, storage containers, sippy cups, water bottles. Well, after Bittner's study, as well as many other scientists who confirmed and backed up, after doing rigorous tests on the BPA-free products, they actually found that it was just as harmful for you as BPA, and it mimicked a lot of the same characteristics that BPA had in it. What can we do to avoid BPA? Avoid drinking anything from plastic water bottles, avoid eating from plastic food storage containers, try to avoid at all costs eating from canned food containers. I mean, fresh food is so much better anyway. I have a baby. I use, instead of a sippy, like a regular plastic sippy cup, I have one that's got a glass in the inside and then the outside is plastic, so you can always do that. And mainly just try to drink, if you're drinking from a bottle, make sure it's glass jar or aluminum. If you're eating from, or if you have food storage containers, you can get glass food storage containers, and try to avoid styrofoam. We know that plastic takes a very long time to break down, and we're now finding it in areas that are uninhabited, like the oceans of the Antarctic, which is kind of scary because now we're showing that there's not a single clean ocean in the world anymore. And as well as our oceans being polluted, where do you think all this plastic is going? As much as we say it's recyclable, there's only so much plastic that can be recycled. I mean, it's filling the landfills and it's going into the earth, and again, it's leaching into the soil, which is going into the water in other terms, and getting into our water supply. So we think about the animal life, and it's so unfortunate because all this plastic's going into the water. And as bad as it is for our planet, we have to think about the fish too. The fish are consuming the plastics. It's causing endocrine disruptions in their bodies, and they're ending up with all these diseases, and then we end up eating the fish. And so that's another thing I have to put on a side note, is to try to avoid fish at all costs as well. Now, I have a few studies to read to you because this stuff is serious, and I want people to understand and realize how serious it actually is. There's been a lot of things that have been researched, and there's been a lot of data written out, so I'm going to read a few things to you. Some of the studies. The U.S. research was conducted with 114 pregnant women who had some form of history with infertility or miscarriage, a group which is particularly at risk from the impact of BPA. The scientists analyzed quantities of BPA in the women's blood and found that those with the highest levels had an 80% greater risk of miscarriage than those with the lowest level. Across the study, 68 of the 114 women miscarried. Dr. Linda Giudice, ASRM president, said that while there have been previous studies which looked at the impact of chemicals on those with fertility problems, the findings of this study suggest that BPA could have a damaging impact on a far larger group of people. And the new studies from Stanford University presented at the American Society for Reproductive Medicine's annual conference in Boston suggested that high levels of contact with the chemical found in many plastics could dramatically increase the likelihood of miscarriage. So, if you're trying to get pregnant or you are pregnant, the best thing you can do for yourself and your baby is to avoid plastic. Thank you for listening.